The Kabalian by the Three Initiates. This book contains 7 principles, otherwise known as the 7 Hermetic Principles, in which I want to share with you today. A little background about this book. I came across this information not from this book or anything related directly to it, but in 2004 when I read Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. It was around that time when I was in $50,000 debt and I was looking for the answers of how to get out of debt. And when I came across Think and Grow Rich and I applied the principles, I found myself out of $50,000 debt in a few years, bought my first house, and then went on to use the contents within the book, and I talk about it extensively on my channel, to create more and more success in life outside of the financial area as well as within the financial area. And then I was really fascinated by the concepts contained within Think and Grow Rich that I found myself attracted to other information in business and personal development that was related to the concept of mentalism, on how thoughts were influencing reality and how you're essentially creating reality based on your thoughts and your vibration, your feeling. This attracted me to The Strangest Secret by Earl Nightingale, as well as other books like the movie The Secret. And then as I started to go deeper and deeper into this stuff, something interesting happened within me. My perspective on how I saw reality started to shift. I now see myself as the cause, and as days go by, I see myself more and more as the cause with unwavering faith that I influence my reality. And the deeper I get into this, the more I share with you information on this channel regarding my journey and my experiences. So what I want to do today is I want to discuss the Kabalian, the 7 Hermetic Principles, based on my experience. And I didn't want to make this video a handful of years ago when I discovered this book because I really wanted to work with the concepts in a pragmatic way and take it to the next level before I shared my insights and perspectives. Here's a quote from the Kabalian to help us get calibrated and started. The lips of wisdom are closed except to the ears of understanding. The lips of wisdom are closed except to the ears of understanding. The all is mind and the universe is mental. And you are one with the Creator, which is the all. You are a manifestation of the Creator. You were created, and the Bible says, in the image of God. And thus, you have the ability to have the same powers that God has to bring forth in reality. However, you are in the journey of learning. You're constantly learning and growing. The more you work with this information, the more you understand how this stuff works, and the more you'll be able to manifest and bring forth in reality that what is exact in your vision, your imagination, what's in your mind. What you're also going to find is the concept of infinite intelligence in Think and Grow Rich is going to be further dimensionalized to you. Information and the vision comes from the all for you to manifest, which is one of the principles, as above, so below. We'll talk about that in a moment. But if you're closed off, and you are closed off really by fears, indecision, and doubt, then the wisdom contained within this book is closed off to you. The lips of wisdom are closed. If you're open and understanding and willing to accept that there's way more beyond this mere physical existence, then as the Bible says, ask and ye shall receive, seek and ye shall find, knock and it shall be opened unto you, including deeper understandings beyond the words of texts like the Bible. Now, remember this. You were created by a creator in the image of the creator, which is the all. And you have the ability, using the mind, which is mental, to create in reality the exact way the creator has created. Now, if you think about this from the context of entrepreneurship, which is what I always talk about, as an entrepreneur, you have a vision. And those that are able to bring forth their vision hold true to their vision. They imagine in their mind and they hold on to that imagination. And as a result of holding on to that imagination, related ideas, people, circumstances show up, and in essence, the vision or what is in the imagination is brought forth. And the more you work with this information, the more you realize that everything that is in reality is a manifestation of your mind. What you think and how you believe reality to work is true to you. If you talk to another person and they say reality works a different way, then it's very apparent then to understand that their reality, the manifestation of what they see in their reality, is also a result of what is in their mind. So in other words, you can change your mind, you can change the images that you hold in your mind, you can change the way you look at reality, and reality will change. And in Think and Grow Rich, he talks about aligning with infinite intelligence. And when you realize that you can change your mind and align it to divine mind, then you not only tap into your own ability to do this, but you get the years of understanding in which wisdom opens up and the lips of wisdom open up to you. And you are essentially bringing forth that is what is divine order. You are becoming one with the Creator and creating with the Creator that what you truly desire, which is actually related to the Creator. Now, this is interesting because you start to realize this as you continue the journey. In the earlier stages, what you're really creating is something that you want to create for whatever reason. And then as you go to work and create what it is that you want to create, you start to tap into these abilities that we're talking about here. And then you start to create more and more and more success or whatever it is you're looking to create until you get deeper understandings and deeper wisdom and align yourself with the divine, the all. The Hermetics teach that the great work of influencing one's environment is accomplished by mental power. If the universe is mental, then mind must be the highest power affecting this phenomena. If this is be understood, then all that is so-called miracles and wonder workings are seen plainly for what they are. As a matter of fact, none but advanced mental alchemists have been able to attain the degree of power necessary to control the grosser physical conditions such as the control of the elements of nature. The production or cessation of tempests, the production and cessation of earthquakes, and other great physical phenomena. Now, this may sound like bold and great claims, but one of the things that you'll find on this journey, and you've got to look at it from your own personal experiences, is that certain ideas tend to manifest in reality in such vivid precision, using forces and factors not known to you, that you start to realize what is really creating in reality. Is it the logic and reason that I thought were the main elements, what I learned in a book or school? Or is that just one way of doing things? Well, the truth is this: there's many ways of bringing forth a vision into reality. Many ways, and many ways that have not been discovered yet and documented into a process that says, here's the way to do it. If I look back at my experience of working with this information, then I find that a lot of things that were brought forth that were direct vision-based manifestation, as in exactly what I wanted to create, or elements that contributed to bringing forth that vision, went outside the realm of what I thought is possible. And that's why in Think and Grow Rich, he says in the chapter, or on page number 29 from the original manuscript, and I'm going to read it here, "A great many years ago, I purchased a fine dictionary. The first thing I did with it was to turn to the word impossible and neatly clip it out of the book. It would not be an unwise thing for you to do. Impossible is a concept that is within the mind of the person that believes it should exist and put weight on it. Now, this might be very polarizing for somebody that doesn't understand how this stuff works. But if you believe something is impossible, then what you're really saying is bring forth that impossibility. If you believe that something is possible, then within your mind you're saying bring forth that possibility. In the Bible it says, if thou canst believe, all things are possible to him that believeth. What this means is that anything that you have created has been a manifestation of what you believe to create. Now, where does this information come from of what is possible and what is not possible? Well, we grow up learning from other people, from books, from teachers, and so forth, and we are taught how reality works based on other people's thinking. And that's why Steve Jobs said in his commencement speech, don't let the noise of other people's opinions drown out your own inner voice. See, when you start to listen to this stuff, what I'm talking about here, and read these kinds of books and experiment and try things out yourself, you'll start to realize that the way you were taught on how to do things is just a way of doing things, and that there are many ways that have not been discovered. And one of the things that will universally be true is that the thoughts or the way you think reality works or the way you believe reality to work is the way that reality will work for you. And if you're looking to find doubts and hesitation based on your thinking in the external world, it will be reflected externally by you attracting information and people that will validate your doubts and hesitation. In other words, if you have fears, doubts, and indecision within, it will be reflected and created in the external world through manifestations of fears, doubts, and indecision. If you move from a place of precision, decisiveness, and absolute faith and conviction that you will create in your reality, that's when you start to practice and develop the mental powers. That's what's discussed within this book. Here's another quote from the Bible to help dimensionalize. And the reason why I'm bringing up quotes from the Bible, it's important to realize that the teachings in the kabalian, once you start to understand it, will unlock meaning from various different kinds of spiritual and religious texts. And then you'll understand the true essence behind the teaching. He said to them, "Because of your little faith, for truly I say to you, if you have faith like a grain of mustard seed, you will say to this mountain, 'Move from here to there,' and it will move, and nothing will be impossible for you." Now, for most people, imagining something like moving the mountain will sound like an impossibility. And the Hermetics teach that while there is laws of the universe, that the mental laws transcend those laws for those that understand to work with the mental alchemy, that have the ability to do it. Now, do you really need to cultivate that kind of ability? In the book Autobiography of the Yogi by Paramahansa Yogananda, he talks about various yogis with various mystical powers that go beyond what modern society or Western society see as the norm. Now, when I got on this journey, I was mainly interested in creating wealth. I was not interested in moving mountains, so I'm not interested in doing a lot of things that, for me, don't really serve a purpose. To each their own. If one wishes to explore the depths of this, I can assure you from my journey that it goes beyond my level of understanding. In fact, my level of understanding is very limited to the capacity and capability of the utilization of this information, and I choose to use it for certain ways, and you'll choose to use it for your certain ways. But the Hermetics went really deep with this information and were able to use this information to go into higher and higher levels of understanding so that they were able to create texts and wisdom like this to share it so that we could create what we want in reality, which is not even close to the kind of possibilities that are able to be utilized with the mind or being manifested through the mind. So then this information will be very useful to you because how do you put it to work, pragmatically speaking? How does this work? Well, understand this, that the information within you is a combination of what you have understand through your own intuition and knowingness of the all through the journey, plus the combination of the opinions of others of how realities work, who verify it with facts that make it seem so believable that it rules out all possibility of the potentiality of it being another way. And one of the things that you have to do in this journey is to develop the confidence and faith to trust yourself and be really selective of the kind of information you are allowing to go into your mind. See, we have our conscious mind and we have our subconscious mind. Most of how we believe reality to work is within our subconscious mind. If you grew up in environments or you're consuming information that is negative and disempowering to you, then your subconscious mind is going to deny the information contained within the principle of mentalism. It's going to deny the information that is really going to help you create the reality that you want to create. Because every time you say, I want to create something in your mind and you imagine it, you're going up against the negative programming that's in your subconscious mind. Now, where does this programming come from? Well, it comes from other people. It comes from music, videos, books, different kinds of information that we're taking in, created by people who see reality from a disempowering perspective. Now, we don't want to blame them or anything like that. We just want to understand how this stuff works. We want to realize that we are a net result of the programming that we put ourselves through consciously or unconsciously and unknowingly. Knowing this is very important because then we can, through our values and beliefs that we have, identify where this programming comes from and change it and make it more in alignment with our vision and guard our mind and protect our mind so that we're consuming information that helps support and create our vision. It is through this process that you develop unwavering faith in what it is that you believe that you're going to create. And it is when you have this unwavering faith that you apply the laws of the kabalian, you understand them better, and the principle of mentalism starts to make more sense to you as you start to see reality start to change and reflect that which is within, which is your vision. Which brings us to our next principle, the principle of correspondence. The outer world is nothing more than a reflection of our inner world. The outer world is nothing more than a reflection of our inner world. How you believe reality to work, how you think, what you believe is possible, and what you believe is not possible is reflected in the external world. You will see it. You can give a concept to a person and you can say, this is how it works. And if they are absolutely convinced subconsciously and consciously that it does not work that way, they're going to find validation and facts and proof in the external world to validate that opinion or that idea that they have. Now, if you give that idea to another person who's had experiences or understands and believes that what you say to them is true, they're going to find various facts and information to prove it to be true in their reality. But the bottom line is, when it comes to the kabalian, the principle of correspondence, our outer world is a reflection of our inner world. Now, this is really powerful because when you aim to seek to bring forth your vision, you have an idea of what you want to bring forth in reality, we hold on to that vision and we start to look at the external world and we say, is this external world congruent or not to our vision? If it's not congruent to our vision, there are elements within us, mostly subconscious, that we need to change so that what happens is when we change this, the external world will change. Now, this is part of the journey of becoming more of a conscious creator, is taking responsibility for your world by saying that what surrounds you is a manifestation of what is within. And by changing yourself within, by changing the meaning, and a good book to read is Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl, you're going to be expressing a certain kind of, we'll talk about this in a moment, vibration or intent or way of looking at reality, mental chemistry, to bring forth the elements and reflect accordingly, even if that involves manifesting certain kinds of behaviors to generate that outcome. An old Hermetic axiom ran in these words, as above, so below, as below, so above. So now this is interesting because it gets more multidimensional. You have an idea and you want to create in reality what it is in this idea. So you start to look at the principle of correspondence and you start to see, how is this related, my external world, to this idea? If it's not related to the idea, then I have to change myself within. I have to evolve within because the outer world is a reflection of my inner world. So you change your inner identity around. So that's why I recommend reading What to Say When You Talk to Yourself or Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz. And you change your self-image and how you believe reality to work within your values and beliefs using something like the Robert Dilts model, which we'll talk about. And then what happens is the external world changes. Now, as you become more of a conscious creator, you align yourself with the all. This is a very interesting thing. And it says, as above, so below. So below, as above. So what that means is that you now then start to create with the creator. And then you have more abilities, greater understanding. And this is why in Think and Grow Rich, he talks about in the later chapters of the sixth sense. It says, later on, when you incorporate this philosophy, you will be warned of disasters. You will start to develop an ability to see things that other people can't see. Now, this sounds very mystical, and it really is. But there are understandings and wisdom that is available on this planet that you might not have been exposed to unless, and he says this in Think and Grow Rich, you follow the other principles in the book. What are the other principles in the book? Well, I recommend reading Think and Grow Rich and watch the video that I did on Think and Grow Rich. But the principles, in essence, are designed to help you gain control of your own mind, focusing your will, increasing your level of awareness, and really concentrating your mental energy towards a specific outcome and connecting yourself and incorporating thoughts that are related to that outcome. Essentially learning how to use your mind properly. When you learn how to use your mind properly to create outcome by holding on to the mental image in your mind and bringing it forth, you get access to more knowledge, more wisdom. And you keep going down this journey until you attract more teachers, more information, more knowledge that will further dimensionalize and help you understand how this stuff works, which was the case for me when I started on this journey and read Think and Grow Rich, and later on attracted the kabalian. I had no idea that it exists. In fact, I had no idea that the information from Neville Goddard existed until mid to late last year, and then I started consuming all that information, which he talks about in his content, and I recommend you watch the videos. I'll put a link in the description to the ones that I did on his information. The power of imagination focuses extensively on mentalism. Following the principle of correspondence, we are justified in considering that the all creates the universe mentally in the matter akin to the process whereby man creates mental images. The all, who's the creator, created the universe mentally. So in the Bible it says, God said, "Let there be light," and then afterwards created all the other things, the elements that God wanted to create, based on mental images that God had in God's mind. And we have the same ability to create. Look around in reality and look at all the different kinds of creation we have. We have computers, we have technology, we have all these different things that are a creation based on a vision of a person. So we have that ability to create. Look at all these things we've created. Okay, some of these things that we've created are so outside of the norm of what would have been, maybe many thousands of years ago, even when this book was created, even when this knowledge was being accumulated and generated and so forth. The stuff that we've created using the very things that are within this book is so outside of belief systems like wireless technology and airplanes and things like that. In science and everything, it seems so obvious. That's why it's always important to remember that when somebody believes in something and they create it, it's easier to reverse engineer and see how it's created. Now, most of us who don't understand this stuff look around to the thinking and knowledge and wisdom from other people who have created stuff in reality and say that's the absolute. Things can only be created based on that. But those that have created amazing breakthroughs as far as technology, as far as whatever in the world that we have today, looked beyond that. They looked beyond what is physical here and held true by holding on to the vision in their mind and believed it to be absolute fact. And some say, and in some way, some shape, some form, things showed up. A combination could be some of the things that already exist in reality. But they're not concerning themselves with those kinds of things. They're focusing more on the fact that it will be brought forth. Now, how do you ensure that you keep yourself focused on the fact that it is being brought forth? Well, some of the ways that I find is to make sure that you're consuming information that supports your vision and you're removing out of your existence information that denies your vision. Number 2 is to observe how reality is changing to reveal to you about yourself, principle of correspondence. Things are going to show up that's going to reveal to you. You're going to understand. You're going to say internally, oh, this makes sense, this doesn't make sense. And you've got to learn to trust yourself. And then you're going to get ideas. And then what you do is you act upon these ideas. And that's why in Think and Grow Rich, he says, hunches and inspirations will come to you, and you got to act upon them with calm faith. The ancient Hermeticists considered this principle as one of the most important mental instruments by which man was able to pry aside the obstacles which hid from the view the unknown. Now, I want to talk about the Robert Dilts model because I think that this helps conceptualize further what is being discussed in this book, and it's something that I refer to a lot. So let's look at a brief overview of what the Robert Dilts model is and how we can take this and apply it to the 7 Hermetic principles to help us understand and, more importantly, create in reality that which we can in our mind. So you've got your vision, which is you and all is, or I am, or you could say the all. Identity, how you believe yourself to be internally within yourself, okay? Self-image. and subconscious mind programming. See, this is the thing. If you want to be able to create in reality that which is in your vision, your identity, your subconscious mind programming has to be in alignment with that. And this is why it's important to identify what's in your subconscious programming, which comes as a result of experiences that you had and teachers that you have and different kinds of just circumstances that got you to believe reality to work a certain way and become firm in conviction that it works that way at a subconscious level so that you begin to navigate reality from that perspective. And those elements are revealed to you by your values and beliefs. So for example, if you have a vision of what you want to create and there's a part of you that believes it's impossible, well, that impossibility, that value and belief that you have from that place of impossibility is coming from your identity within your subconscious. So we use things like auto-suggestions or surrounding ourselves with information to reprogram our subconscious mind to rewrite those values and beliefs so that we feel the empowerment and the possibility of creating that vision. That's what we want to do. So this is a great model to help us with that. Now, the vision and the identity and values and beliefs are metaphysical. Okay, this is all mental stuff here. Then over here, we're talking about physical reality, the earth that we live in, capabilities, behavior, and environment. So our goal is to bring forth our vision into environment, into reality. And it's done through our identity, our subconscious mind programming, which we have to evolve, and it's revealed to us by the different values and beliefs that we have. So this is very important. One of the key elements that help me in my journey is to take notes of the values and beliefs that I have through the law of correspondence. So how does that work? Well, as I navigate reality and I'm going about doing my thing and I have a vision, I look at the external world and I ask myself, how do I feel about what is being presented to me? Is it aligned with my vision? What are the values and beliefs that I'm projecting on to the different elements in reality that is revealing to me my identity and its alignment or lack thereof towards my vision? And what I could do is I can change my identity around so I could look at reality different. And as a result of looking at reality different, my attention and awareness goes on what is related to my vision rather than being polarized from a negative perspective to things that are not related to my vision, which then causes me to mentally put energy onto that thing, which moves me down a different direction. Now, after that, as you start to cleanse up your identity and it's revealed to you by your values and beliefs, you'll start to notice that you're going to attract certain capabilities. You're going to realize that, hey, I got to learn this skill, or I got to do this, or I got to cultivate this, or whatever. Capabilities flow from that kind of reprogramming. And then from your capabilities, what it is that you're doing. And your capabilities could be different kinds of things. Could be a capability for you. Learning the 7 Hermetic principles and implementation of it is a capability. As a result of learning different kinds of capabilities, your behaviors change. And your behaviors influence your environment. So let's look at it from the top down. You got a vision, your identity gets aligned with your vision, and your identity is revealed to you. Okay, circumstance reveals to you about yourself through the values and beliefs that you're projecting from within onto reality, which you can optimize and change your identity within. Then certain kinds of capabilities and certain kinds of information gets attracted to you, and that's why we say here, going back to the beginning, the lips of wisdom are closed except to the ears of understanding. This is another, I'm not implying that this is the only meaning that this gives. This is one of the meanings that I believe I have learned through my journey that I'm sharing with you. And, as I go through this journey, I'm learning more and more and more. This is some really exciting stuff. Now, what happens then is capabilities. People will come up to you and say, you got to learn this, or you'll attract a certain kind of book, or certain kinds of information will be drawn to, which is going to contribute to help bringing forth your vision. And your behavior is going to change, and the environment will be influenced different. The Hermetic teachings concerning the process of the mental creation of the universe are that at the beginning of the creative cycle, the all, in its aspects of being, projects its will towards the aspect of becoming, and the process of creation begins. It is taught that the very process consists of the lowering of vibration until a very low degree of vibratory energy is reached, at which point the grossest possible form of matter is manifested. This process is called the stage in involution, which means, or in which the all becomes involved and wrapped up in its creation. This process is believed by the Hermeticists to have a correspondence to the mental process of an artist, writer, or inventor who becomes so wrapped up in his mental creation as to almost forget his own existence, and who, for the time being, almost lives in his creation. If instead of wrapped, we use the word wrapped, perhaps we will give a better idea of what is meant. So the idea then, when we apply the law of correspondence and the law of mentalism, or the principle of mentalism, is to keep your mind on the vision that you have and hold on to that vision and consume information that is related to your vision while you look at the external world, the correspondence, and identify what is within you that is aligned and not aligned with the vision, and make the changes within and hold on to that. And then what happens? We move on to the next principle of vibration. Nothing rests, everything moves, everything vibrates. You attract who you are based on what frequency you are vibrating at. Based on what frequency you are vibrating at. We'll talk about this in a moment. Knowing this, Hermeticists believe that even thoughts have their own rate of vibration and can be controlled like tuning an instrument to produce various results for the aim of self and environment mastery. As your understanding of vibration, frequency, harmony, and resonance increase, so too shall your power over yourself and your world. So we're talking about now the principle of mentalism and having a vision and identifying through the principle of correspondence what kind of thoughts you have related to your vision. Are they empowering thoughts or disempowering thoughts? And how is that being reflected in the external world? If the outer world is a reflection of your inner world, and your inner world is made up of your thoughts or your values and beliefs identified through your identity, deep subconscious programming and conscious programming that you have. Conscious thoughts reveal also what's within your subconscious, and seeing the congruence related to your vision. This will give you a lot of ideas as to what is being created, because thoughts are of a vibration. So this is where the law of attraction comes from, the principle of vibration. The idea behind the movie The Secret and Think and Grow Rich is that you want to put your thoughts on the things that are related to your vision. You want to focus on what you want. As you focus on what you want, the vibration goes out into the universe and attracts that accordingly. This is how everything was created. So thoughts, you notice if you hold a thought for an extended period of time, you'll start to attract and bring to your awareness that what is corresponding to that. Your attention and awareness will go on what is that is corresponding to that, and you'll also attract and harmonize with people, circumstance, and environment that is what is related to the vibration of the thought. So this all works really well together. Mentalism, focus on what you want. Law of correspondence, reveal the kind of information that you have within yourself and adjust it so it's tuned into that vibration of thought that you want to maintain for an extended period of time. And then what happens is you attract that is what is in that vibration. Now, pragmatically speaking, let's talk about this for a moment. As I started to evolve in this, I noticed that conversations with people have becoming more in alignment with my vision. It's almost like when I have a conversation, not almost like, I know it as a fact that this is how it is. When I have a conversation with a person, the conversation can only be about certain topics and about certain ways of looking at that topic. The conversation cannot go into certain threads that the conversation used to go in before, which was a manifestation of what was in my subconscious mind. See, we go and navigate reality and play out reality like theater. Okay, so this is what's happening within. Based on our values and beliefs and how we see reality to work, its correspondence is in the external world. If you don't like something in the external world, you change it within, and you can't replay that again because it does not exist within you. There is a different meaning you now have. And when you embark in a conversation with someone, like in business or entrepreneurship, you do a certain kind of business deal, based on how you are within, that's the kind of client, that's the kind of external world business partner or whoever that you will attract. And when you do attract them, let's say they had elements within them that was based on similar past elements of your subconscious programming, but you now no longer have that within you, that conversation cannot exist on that area. So people will always treat you the way you allow yourself to be treated, is another way of looking at it. So this is why we always say evolve yourself. Self-respect, self-love is very important, because then you're going to gravitate and attract the people that are related to that level of self-confidence and self-love. And the same thing applies for everything else related to the thoughts that you're having. And we're not just talking about conscious thoughts here, we're talking about subconscious thoughts. So you don't, and as the saying goes, you don't attract what you want, you attract who you are. So if you say, I want to attract a certain level of finances, or I want to attract a certain level of success, but most of the programming within you is contrarian to that, you're not going to attract it, because you're going to attract who you are. However, this should not be disempowering because of the principle of correspondence. You could look at what you're attracting and use it as a teacher. Okay, and that's, again, we're going back to the main philosophy key point of calibration of discussion. The lips of wisdom are closed except for the ears of understanding. So be understanding of the external world to see what is being revealed to you about yourself and adjust that accordingly within. And remember this, as going back to earlier, as I mentioned, we are a net programming of the information that we consume consciously or subconsciously. Information that's being presented to you that's negative and disempowering and makes you feel less than is going into your subconscious mind, and when you have a big vision, it is breaking down the possibility of bringing it so, because that's where the values and beliefs that are being programmed to you throttle your ability to create from that perspective. Now, you can see it in the external world, and you can make peace with it and say, this is what's happening. This is what I'm creating. I can change myself within and keep my thoughts on that what is related, and even subconsciously program my subconscious mind through autosuggestion or meditation or so forth, and align myself to have thoughts that are of the vibration that are in alignment of my vision. This principle explains that the differences between different manifestations of matter, energy, mind, and even spirit result largely from varying rates of vibration. From the all, which is pure spirit, down to the grossest form of matter, all is in vibration. The higher the vibration, the higher the position in the scale. The vibration of spirit is at such an infinite rate of intensity and rapidity that it is practically at rest, just as rapidly moving wheel seems to be motionless. And at the other end of the scale, there are gross forms of matter whose vibrations are so low as to seem at rest. Between these poles, there are millions upon millions of varying degrees of vibration. So what we want to do is we want to adjust our thoughts to be in that vibration of the vision that we want to create, and we want to affirm those thoughts and feelings. It's feelings. See, thoughts create certain kinds of feelings, and that will tell you what you're vibrating at. If you feel excited and enthusiastic about what it is that you are thinking about, then you're in the vibration of bringing that forth. Now, if you're feeling negative about what you're thinking about, then you're at the vibration of negativity, and you're going to bring forth that what is related to the vibration of negativity. Let's go back, or let's move forward into the principle of polarity. Everything is dual, everything has poles, everything has its pair of opposites. Like and unlike are the same. Opposites are identical in nature, but different in degree. Extremes are met, all truths are but half-truths, all paradoxes may be reconciled. All truths are half-truths. See, the answer is it depends. One of the things we have to remember is flow. Okay, one of my favorite books is Flow by Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, and we're going to get more into that when we talk about rhythm, the principle of rhythm. But we have to understand that there's left, right, up, down, and the answer is it depends. And the problem with people who don't know how this stuff works is they snag on one side of the pole. They don't understand that things are, there's two versions of the same thing. Each, like good, there's evil, like it says right here. Good and evil are about the poles of the same thing, and the Hermeticist understands the art of transmuting evil into good by means of the application of the principle of polarity. In short, the art of polarization becomes a phase of mental alchemy known and practiced by the ancient and modern Hermetic masters. An understanding of the principle will enable one to change his own polarity, as well as that of others, if he will devote the time and study necessary the art and master the art. Now, see, information, this is really cool stuff. This is what you can do. Pragmatically speaking, here's how you apply it. As you navigate reality observe what polarizes you. What makes you stressed out, what makes you angry, what makes you happy, and so forth. And that's revealing to you a lot about what you're going to create. Because if something polarizes you and makes you angry, then all of a sudden you've gone into that anger vibration. And if that anger vibration, and most likely it's not, aligned with your vision, you're just going to create based on that vibration of anger. This is why it's very important to really become aware of the kind of information that you're consuming. If you're consuming angry information, then you're going to attract that is what of anger. Now, we're not talking about denial here. See, with the hermeticists, they're not saying that, okay, good exists and evil exists, so I'm going to ignore evil. It's not like how it is. It's what polarizes you with the recognition that the opposite pole exists and have acceptance and understanding, and then making a conscious mental choice to polarize yourself to that which is positive. So there's a saying that further verifies this and validates what I'm saying here. It's not what happened to you, or it's not what happens to you, but how you respond to it that matters. Okay, so if something happens to you negatively that is undesirable and you respond in a negative way, you're now polarizing yourself to it and moving in the direction of that vibration. And that vibration is going to bring forth its correspondence. However, if something negative happens to you and you respond to it in a positive way, okay, rather than reacting negatively, you look at it and say, oh, this is happening. And then you take, and by the way, you get better at it with practice. This is one of the things. What we're talking about here can take you a lifetime to master, and go even beyond lifetimes really to master this, because this goes on forever. But you can get very far in life by working with these principles. So what polarizes you? Some situation happens in your environment, and then all of a sudden you take a step back and say, oh, I could choose to look at this from a positive note or a negative note. If I choose to look at it from a positive note, it will be in alignment with the vibration that I want to be in to correspond my vision. So I'm going to choose that. Now, this is one of the huge determining factors for success. I realized this when I read Think and Grow Rich. When I reflect back on my journey in my life, I think one of my greatest skills that I developed was to see what polarizes me and consciously choose to polarize myself to that what I want. And I realized that this is such a high leverage skill that I went to go work on it, constantly writing down the different meanings of what was polarizing me in the environment and choosing consciously to polarize myself in the direction that is related to my vision. So when we combine the principle of polarity and understand that opposites exist, for example, if you're going out and build a business, there's the chance of success and there's a chance of failure. If you're looking to create an ideal relationship, there's the chance of love, or you can experience love, or you can also experience hatred from that same relationship if things don't work out or whatever. There's always two poles, good, evil, up, down. There's always two poles. We have to understand and embrace that exists. Now, here's one of the things that helps us understand and embrace it, is not snagging on either left or right. It's to say all truths are half-truths. And one of the most important grounding factors that I have learned in my journey that helped me so much with this is the realization that no matter how right I am about something, there is a situation where what I believe in adamantly to be true won't be true. Now, this is extremely humbling, and it prevents you from snagging. And what do I mean by snagging when I say snagging? Well, the goal is to be in flow. We're going to talk about this in a moment, rhythm, where you're navigating reality in flow towards your vision. And snagging is if something polarizes you, and because you have a limited way of looking at reality, you're stuck over there on that negative thing. An example would be, let's say you're creating success in business. And for some reason, you're maybe driving in your car and there's some negative news report that comes up that makes you very angry. And rather than stopping for a moment and saying, okay, well, that's how that is and that's what it means, and I'm going to choose to look at this in a positive way, you further unravel yourself in that negativity, and maybe you call up your friend and you start complaining about it and so forth, now changing your vibration, moving in a different direction. So you essentially snagged on that and you didn't remain in flow towards your vision, and you have now gone in a different direction. And one of the videos I'm going to be doing a discussion on is reality transurfing, which offers a great model for navigating reality based on these principles. You essentially went on a different life track and moved in a different direction. So what we want to do is we want to be keeping in consideration the principle of rhythm. Everything flows out and in. Everything has tides. All things rise and fall. The pendulum swings, manifests in everything. The measure of the swing to the right is the measure of the swing to the left. Rhythm compensates. Rhythm will have an effect on you one way or another, but with awareness, you can use it to propel you forward and ride it back to recovery. So think about surfing, for example, or think about anything that is based on rhythm and flow. Okay, so essentially you're going through navigating reality towards your vision. You keep your mind on what is related to your vision. You look at the external world as correspondence, as revealing to you about yourself, and you change the meaning to that, what is in the vibration of that what you want to achieve. You understand there's left and right and different ways of looking at reality, and all truths are half truth, and you're going to make a choice based on what keeps you in flow, knowing that things change. A perfect example, I'll give you an example. In the world of business, you can have about 15 or 20 deals on the table, and a handful of them are moving through. Maybe a couple of them are moving so close to completion so you can get paid that big dollars that you're looking for, and then all of a sudden the deal doesn't go through. Well, understand something. You got other deals in the pipeline. You now move and focus on those other deals while allowing that deal to do whatever it needs to go in completion. If it falls through, it doesn't matter because you're not snagging on it. That's what I mean by snagging on it. So Napoleon Hill in Think and Grow Rich has the 6 basic fears. See, I believe that what causes a person to not value rhythm is fear. That's what I believe. That's what I've come to understand in this journey. And Napoleon Hill mentions these 6 basic fears. So I want you to reflect upon these fears. Watch the video that I did on the Think and Grow Rich book, and just study Think and Grow Rich, because it's containing a lot of elements that were pulled from, I don't know if intentionally so, or maybe it's just all related, from the kabalian, and it'll help dimensionalize what you're learning here. Fear of poverty, fear of criticism, fear of ill health, fear of loss of love, fear of old age, and fear of death. These are fears that you have to eliminate. If you do not eliminate these, you will snag on them, and it will break your flow. Think about it. Reflect back on your life. Pause the video if you have to. And think about times in your life where fears caused you to snag, in part or in whole, granular elements of these or obvious elements of these, and derailed you, threw you in a different vibration. And as a result of that, you lost your flow. You were stifled and you were not moving in this direction that was related towards your vision. Now think about times in your life where you worked and overcame some of these through the journey, and then you created a vision and you were moving towards your goal, and something that might have snagged you from the past showed up, but no longer it snags you, and it didn't polarize you. And you just chose the direction consciously to move forward towards your vision. So understanding the principle of rhythm and understanding what causes you to get snagged within the fears, doubts, and indecision, very important. Eliminate fears, doubts, and indecision. Fears, doubts, and indecision need to be eliminated for this stuff to work to a high degree. Now, as you go through this journey, you're going to automatically reduce your fears, doubts, and indecision. It's going to happen. I'm far more fearless now. I am far more decisive now than ever before because I've been on this entrepreneurship journey for 10 years. And I started this whole journey into this realm of what we're discussing here back in 2004 when I was in corporate around that time and $50,000 debt. And it was the removing of these fears that helped me stay smooth towards my vision. And now that I understand this is what it works, this is how it works, as I raise the bar to higher visions, I find myself understanding how to deal with these kind of things when they show up and not polarize myself to the negative part of it. Because remember, positive and negative, polarity, it exists. Rhythm will have an effect on you one way or another, but with awareness, you can use it to propel you forward. All people who experience self-mastery do this to some degree, but those who exert their will upon this principle are able to act from a place of purpose as opposed to letting the pendulum swing them into reactivity. So we want to respond mindfully to keep the flow rather than react negatively. Now, how do you know what you're reacting to? Principle of correspondence. What meaning are you giving to that which you are reacting to? Number one. And what vibration is it throwing you into, which is going to bring forth its equivalent? All individuals who have attained any degree of self-mastery do this to a certain degree, more or less unconsciously. Remember, we're going in, most of who we are is subconscious, and we have to go in and rewrite our programming in our subconscious. Anyone who practices the principles in the 7 Hermetic Principles, for whatever reason, will always tell you that you gotta go work on your subconscious. You've got to program your subconscious. Because if you don't cleanse your subconscious of the negative or disempowering or what is not related to the vision, it's going to show up and manifest itself automatically. But the masters do this consciously, and by the use of his will attain a degree of poise and mental firmness almost impossible of belief on the part of the masses, who are swung backward and forward like a pendulum. Now look at this. Most people in reality are swung back and forth like the pendulum, reactive to everything. In fact, they don't believe that things are within their control because of the reactivity. They're getting more and more affirmations based on that reactive vibration to affirm to them that the world is not in their favor or they don't have control over reality. But because you're being exposed to this information right now, put this to work and you're going to see more and more and more as you maintain and you exercise that degree of poise and mental firmness, that you'll be able to navigate through chaos. Carl Jung says this. In chaos, there is divine order for those that are ready for it. Okay? For those that are ready for it. This principle and that of polarity have been closely studied by the Hermetists. And the methods for counteracting, neutralizing, and using them form an important part of the Hermetic mental alchemy. Again, it goes back to mental. All of this is revealed in your mind by the thoughts. Remember, we talked about this, and it was said in Strangest Secret by Earl Nightingale. The prophets, wise men, preachers, philosophers have disagreed upon many different things. It is only in one thing that they are in complete unanimous agreement, and that is you become what you think about. So all is mind. Now, principle of cause and effect. Every cause has its effect. Every effect has its cause. Everything happens according to law, chance, is but a name for law not recognized. Chance is but a name for law not recognized. I talked about this earlier. There are many planes of causation, but nothing escapes this law. So everything happens for a reason. And the better you get at working with this stuff, the more you're able to pinpoint the cause and effect. You know, Steve Jobs said this. You can't connect the dots looking forward, you can only connect them looking backwards. Now remember, he was also speaking to the mass population when he said that. And one of the abilities you're going to find is that information about connecting the dots looking backwards and seeing how cause and effect work for you in your life is going to teach you and help you understand how that's related to what's coming up. Now, you don't have to overthink this because you have to remember the key principles. Focus on your vision, hold it in your mind, see what's being revealed to you through correspondence, observe the meaning that you're giving to it, and how that's polarizing you in either what's related to your direction or not, and what vibration is it putting into you, and changing that meaning around so you polarize yourself to that what is related to your vision. Remove any kind of elements that break your rhythm and understand there's lots of complexity, and within that you'll start moving towards a direction. The principle embodies the fact that there is a cause for every effect, an effect for every cause. It explains that everything happens according to law, and nothing ever merely happens. That there is no such thing as chance, and while there are various planes of cause and effect, the higher dominating the lower planes, still nothing ever entirely escapes the law. The Hermeticists understand the art and methods of rising above the ordinary plane of cause and effect to a certain degree, and by mentally rising to a higher plane, they become causers instead of effects. So this is why in Think and Grow Rich, he talked about the sixth sense, the chapter. It's only understood when you master cause and effect and will it into your favor using the lower degrees of manifestation, the material plane and so forth. Now, this is something that you will understand, and I'm understanding more and more as I start to work with this. Every single day as I work with this, I'm realizing more and more. And what I'm sharing with you is not stuff that I read. This is all based on my own personal experiences. And anybody who works this principle will have different kinds of personal experiences. All truths are half-truths. Is my way the best way? No, it's not the best way. What's the best way for you? You have to be okay with it. And if it stimulates you and this information resonates with you, then by all means, it resonates with you. But one thing is very important to understand, is that this stuff is going to make even more sense to you, and you'll be able to rise above. It says here, rise above the ordinary plane of cause and effect, in which the masses are susceptible to, and be able to create kinds of things that other people never even believe possible that it can be created. And that's why I recommend reading Autobiography of the Yogi by Yogananda. See, here's the thing that he said. He didn't deny the material world. He didn't say, okay, he came to Los Angeles back in the days and he didn't say that it was a bad place. He says you can have the material world if you understand the Eastern philosophies, and these are the philosophies. If you understand that, you can have whatever you want from a place of joy, bliss, ease, happiness, abundance, prosperity, well-being. You don't have to force and do all these physical things that are renunciating instinct, as Sigmund Freud put it, to create in reality, when you can work with these higher planes of existence and this knowledge and wisdom that has existed for thousands of years that others have used. You can work with this knowledge to be able to create things beyond what you thought was possible, only if you believe it's possible. And his way of doing it was through Kriya Yoga and meditation, many ways of doing it. The masses of people are carried along obedient to the environment, the wills and desires of others stronger than themselves, hereditary suggestion, other outward causes, moving them about like pawns on the chessboard of life. But the masters, rising to the plane above, dominate their moods, characters, qualities, and powers, as well as the environment surrounding them, and become movers instead of pawns. They help to play the game of life instead of being played and moved about by others' wills and environment. They use the principle instead of being its tools. The masters obey the causation of the higher planes, but they help to rule on their own plane. In this statement, there is a wealth of hermetic knowledge. Let him read who can. So the idea behind all these things is that this kind of knowledge is not your typical knowledge taught in school or whatever, although you will find that a lot of now common knowledge has origins, elements from these principles. But you have to remember that one of the main things is that all is mind. And as you begin to work with your mind and you focus on your own mind, you cleanse your subconscious mind, you're going to start getting a better understanding of how these principles work. Now, the principle of gender. Gender is in everything. Everything has its masculine and feminine principles. Gender manifests in all planes. So everything has masculine elements and feminine elements. We all have masculine and feminine elements within. Some are more masculine than others, some are more feminine than others. It's got nothing to do with male or female. It's about masculine and feminine essence. And gender is in everything. The understanding and awareness and working with this is huge amount of power. If you want to go deeper into this kind of stuff, you'll study things like sexual transmutation, but sexual energy is one of the most powerful forms of creative energy. On the physical plane, the principle manifests as sex. On the higher planes, it takes higher forms. But the principle is ever the same. No creation, physical, mental, or spiritual, is possible without this principle. So remember this. No creation, physical, mental, or spiritual is possible without this principle. This is why it's very important to build a harmony within yourself of masculine and feminine essences. If you do not, you're going to find that this kind of philosophies will not work in your favor. As we get into discussion, you'll see why. An understanding of its laws will throw light on many a subject that has perplexed the minds of men. The principle of gender works ever in the direction of generation, regeneration, and creation. Everything and every person contains the two elements or principles, or this great principle within it, him or her. Every male thing has feminine elements also. Every feminine or female contains also the male principle. Too much masculine energy without a balance of feminine leads to growth of power to the extreme of reckless abandon, where we lose perspective of what is most important and forget the principles which began the conquest in the first place. Too much feminine energy without a balance of the masculine leads to a life grounded so deeply in the present that our lives become determined by cycles and external circumstances out of our favor. To choose the middle path between these extremes of the present feminine and future-driven masculine and seek balance in all things is the key to using all 7 Hermetic principles to full effect and achieving life-lasting mastery without straying too far from the path. Achieving light, so it's all about the present being important as well as the destination. So I can tell a person if they're off balance by asking them what's more important, the destination or the journey. And if they say, one's going to say, oh, it's the destination and I don't care how I get there, then they got too much masculine. If someone says it's all about the present and I don't really worry about the destination, too much feminine. The key is to remember that both is important. Remember polarities? Both is important to embrace. And there's going to be a rhythm on your way to manifesting your vision. But if you're too biased on one side or the other, you're going to snag. Everything and everyone contains both masculine and feminine elements. Among the outward expressions of feminine qualities are love, patience, intuition, and gentleness, and of masculine qualities are energy, self-reliance, logic, and intellect. See, both are important. Both of these qualities are important. It's important to have intuition and intellect, patience and reliance, logic and love. All of these are important. And by having a harmonious balance within, and it doesn't have to be 50-50, the answer is it depends. But what we have to do is go within ourselves and make peace and harmony within elements of the masculine and feminine. Because once you do this, you have a greater appreciation and love and understanding of the external, which is going to prevent you from snagging and really help you understand what causes create effects and so forth. In other words, you'll have a greater degree of awareness because you're not going to have biases within. And as a result of that, you're going to be more in the flow. And you're going to realize that biases actually come from the fears of poverty, criticism, ill health, loss of love, old age, death, stories and experiences that we've had in our life that program our subconscious mind to further build upon fears. And that's why I always believe that in the Genesis story, the Garden of Eden is the subconscious mind. And the forbidden fruit is fear. And fear creates all this negative manifestations that polarizes in a direction that is not related to the vision. And by going on this journey and working this information, we create that as what is in our vision, and we connect to the all to bring forth as above, so below, the vision of the all. Principle of polarity, understanding and that there's two sides, up, down, left, right, and see what side you're snagging on. If you're snagging on your side, that will be, or a side you're being, that will be where your limitation is. Principle of vibration, what polarizes you puts you in that vibration. You want to be in the vibration that is in alignment with your vision. How do you know if you're in alignment with your vision? Look at the external world. Principle of correspondence. What is it revealing to you about you? But remember this, all is mind. The universe is mental. That's one of the core elements, the most important element, in my opinion, and actually the genesis of everything. It really is the genesis, no pun intended. The principle of mentalism. All is mind. You become what you think about. Within your mind is your imagination, your connection to the all. You can embrace this connection, you can understand this connection, and you can cultivate this connection by observing the kind of information you're taking in. The all is from a place of empowerment, creation, not destruction. If you're taking information that is disempowering and destructive, you're breaking your ability to use the power of mentalism, and you're disconnecting from the connector or the connection between the all. If you want to copy this mind map, the link is in the description. Thank you very, very much for watching. I'll talk to you soon. Take care.